And now we are going into mentorship, sponsorship, and the occasional pivot with Charisse Bernard. So Charisse, I'm going to talk a little bit about you. So she is running campus recruitment and academic relations at Spotify. She has a resonating thread of STEM and mentorship and education and research, and just is doing some really incredible work. So let's give it up for Charisse.
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is my first time ever at Tech Inclusion, so right? So happy to be here. I'm like a conference queen, so there isn't a conference I haven't been to, but this is my first time here. I'm so happy to the organizers for inviting me to speak. Like was mentioned in my intro, I work at Spotify in New York City at our U.S. headquarters, but I call myself a recovering scientist because for years I was a pharmacologist. I designed drugs for cancer therapies, which is a very personal journey for me because my father passed away from cancer about 10 years ago. And so my work was always very personal. If a cell died, I cried, like I literally cried in the laboratory. So very personal work, but I learned kind of later on down the road that I didn't feel it was ethical, right? I didn't feel it was as ethical as what the industry that I wanted to work in because of how pharmaceuticals made their money, right? So we'll leave that on the shelf. Today, though, I want to talk to you about relationships and the relationships that you can find in sponsors, allies, mentors, and if we have time, what it means to pivot in your career. Because I pivoted. I did like a really drastic career pivot, and right now, Ritu, I just followed you on Instagram, by the way, because you're super inspirational. But yeah, slight plug. I'm writing a book right now on the professional pivot and kind of the framework that you have to understand about yourself in order to shift from one thing to the next. So with that being said, I want to talk to you a little bit about the relationships that you need in order to be successful in life, in your careers, and what that looks like. So in preparation for this talk, I started thinking about this a few weeks ago. Not really in preparation for this talk, but just for myself. I started thinking about what is it that really creates success in everyone? What is it that you have to do to really be empowered and to thrive past all of your limits and to really stand in your full authentic self, right? And I started thinking about it. I said, well, there are certain things that have to be in place. You have to kind of know who you are. You have to really kind of be able to be authentic, know exactly what you want out of life. But one of the other things you really have to do is manage, right? And I thought to myself, I'm not a CEO yet, but I kind of am a CEO. And I think everyone in here is a CEO. And before your imposter syndrome sets in, the reason why is because all CEOs do is manage. That's really what they do. They manage people. They manage their own network. They manage relationships. A huge part of what CEOs do is manage conflict, right? When there's a problem, it really falls on the leader of whatever organization it is. So they manage conflict. And I said to myself, I do that every day. Like I'm literally already a CEO. And everyone in here is too. And I think that once we recognize that we have some of the same qualities as some of our most amazing leaders, that will really push us into another dimension of our own success. So I came up with this whole thing called an excellence framework. And these are kind of the categories of aspects or characteristics of successful people that when you really lean into these 7 targeted ideas, you end up really pushing yourself to another place in life, in your career. So for example, for health, managing your health really means, like Ritu said, we had some of the same ideas. Caring for your spirit, right? So that means connecting yourself and your spiritual being with a higher power, whatever it is that may be. Caring for your mind and body, and may I add, self-care is not selfish, because I keep hearing that all the time when it's time for me to get my pedicures. It's not selfish. It is actually what you're supposed to do. So you're caring for your health, and just keeping in mind that if your body isn't healthy, that you stop right there. You can't do anything if your body isn't healthy, right? So health is one of the ideas in the excellence framework that you really have to pay attention to. Attitude. That's really all about understanding how you're speaking to yourself, right? What I learned a few years ago is that if anyone says anything negative about you, it means nothing unless if you're not saying anything negative about yourself. When you're talking to yourself in a positive way, what everyone else says really doesn't matter at that point. And so that really falls into the attitude part of the excellence framework. And then finally, communication and execution, right? How are you growing yourself? How are you communicating your brand to the outside world? And being a recruiter at Spotify, I've probably come across every single student in the United States of America at this point. And what I'm realizing is that these students are geniuses. But if you don't know how to communicate that, either when you meet someone verbally, written in your resume, we would never know that you're a genius. And so that communication and execution part of the excellence framework is also critical to really building up your excellence and making sure that people know what your brand is. So the part of the excellence framework for today that I really want to focus on is the relationship part, right? You can't get anywhere by yourself. That is a fact. I think that as a believer, I think this is probably a constant in several religions or several, types of spiritual ideas, is that you're not an island, right? Your growth really comes through relationships with other people in addition to the relationship with yourself. So when I thought about the relationship part of the excellence framework in the workplace, those relationships, you can have relationships with your peers, the people who are kind of on your level, but then how do you advance? You have to have relationships with other types of people in order for you to be successful, either in an organization or even in your own company, right? And so these relationships are normally mentor relationships, sponsor relationships, and allies, okay? Now, for a long time, I thought mentors and sponsors were the same people. They're not. Totally different people, okay? Mentors are basically trusted advisors, right? A mentor could be my same age. I just turned 36, everyone. A lot of people tell me I still look like I'm in my 20s. I really appreciate that. I'm sure that's what you all are thinking. But I just turned 36 last month, and only a few months ago I realized that mentors and sponsors are not the same. A mentor can be someone that is your same exact age, on your same level, professionally. They might even be younger than you. The key idea to a mentor is that they are a trusted advisor. So if you trust them and they have some sort of success in their work or even in their life, or even if maybe they're a spiritual mentor, that's what a mentor is. A sponsor, though, really takes things to another level because a sponsor is also trusted. A sponsor could also be an advisor. However, a sponsor, instead of only advising, also acts, right? A sponsor can be in a room that you're not in and still speak your name, right? A sponsor, when there is a high-level assignment or a project that comes up, might recommend you to another high-level person, and you don't even know about it, okay? And so that recently happened to me because at Spotify, again, all companies are working on this diversity and belonging and inclusion topic. One of my very, I would say she was a mentor, but she came to me and said to me, Sharice, I think that you would be really great to lead our Black employee resource group for this year. So I'm like, with already everything on my plate, I said, okay, it's kind of hard to say no to you. I trust you. And at first I was a little apprehensive, but then I took on the role, and I realized that particular role has gotten me into rooms with the CEO of Spotify that I would have never gotten to if I just kind of stayed within my box, right? And that's when I realized she just went from a mentor to a sponsor because she thought of me in terms of what my potential is instead of where I was at the moment. And that's what a sponsor does. An ally, very similar characteristics, but an ally is a person that sides with you, that takes your side, even though they may not identify with the same group that you're in, okay? And so these are the relationships that I really want to highlight right now, as all of you are CEOs in here. These are the relationships that I want to propose you start to build on to really just increase the success of your life, to increase your career trajectory. And And so what I'm going to do now is to provide you with oh my gosh, really? Okay, real quick. 4 practical ways that you can build the relationships with mentors and sponsors and allies. First one is to plan, okay? The first thing you have to do in order to build any relationship with a sponsor or mentor is to know who you are first. Know what you want to do, okay? So if you're in one place in your career and you know that your goal is to get here, the only way for you to know those details is for you to sit down, do some focus on self-awareness, focus on what is it that you want to do. A lot of people are walking around and have no idea of what their purpose is, okay? And so understanding and really looking for your purpose in this way will really allow you to pick the correct mentors and sponsors. So that is the first step. Second step is observing the organic. This is really important because there are certain people in your life right now who are actually already in a position to be your mentors and your sponsors. They're already here. And so take kind of an audit of who's in your life, who are the people that really always speak up for you, who are the people that are naturally advocating to you, not your mom, but like other people, right? Because my mom is like that. She's like, oh, well, you can do anything you want to do. And I'm like, Mom, that won't help. Like, you don't know the leaders, right? No, but observe the organic relationships in the workplace. Who are the people that you may not necessarily call a sponsor now, but they're always positively talking about you. They see your work, you're visible to them, and they see you. Think about those people and really just write them down as people that potentially could be your sponsors or your mentors. Third, build. Build the relationship. Build your own resume. Sit down and really think about what is the work that you have done that no one knows about. Build those things. Build kind of a portfolio of opportunities that you can present to these people in order for you to build those relationships. And then finally, execute. So when I say execution, this is when you really have to take a leap of faith, right? This is when you might see a VP walking down the hall and you understand that they know some of your work, but you have not established kind of a closer relationship. In this step, that's when the execution comes in, right? Set up a one-on-one with them. Tell them that you really want to understand more about how your role is contributing to the success of either the company or the project or whatever it is. And just sit down and ask them, can you help me get further? It really is just about a question. The worst they can say is no, and they probably won't say no. And I'll tell you why. If you start off the conversation with something about them, they won't say no. Because everyone loves to build their own ego, right? So this is what I've done personally in the past. Let's say I'm talking to someone named Michelle. Michelle, I really love that article in Adweek that was published last week about you. The work that you're doing here at Spotify is simply amazing. You're taking us to very innovative places in the work here. This is what I've been doing. You know, it's very related to what you're doing. I want to know how I can connect with you on a deeper level in order to advance my work. You're such a great example to me. I think that you are someone that I would like to model my career after. When you say those types of things, I'm telling you guys, psychologically, no one can say no to it. I'm telling you, seriously. So think about those people. When you're building the organic relationships that you already have in your life, and you're sitting down and you're doing your own self-reflection and you know who you are and you know what your purpose is and you can go to someone in a confident way, they will never say no. And so when you do this, you're growing your network, and not just the network on LinkedIn. That's a network, but I'm talking about a strong network of people that would advocate for you in rooms that you're not even in. And when you do these 4 steps, you'll see that your network of actual advocates will grow tremendously. So, selfless plugs here. My website, ChariceBernard.com. When I publish my book, it'll be there first, obviously. But these are kind of the ways you can reach me. And that is what I had to say about building relationships. Thank you.